In order to test the most advanced features of our deep packet inspection devices, advanced firewalls, and IPS/IDS style devices, we must be able to test with modern HTTP content. This includes HTML5, JSON, jQuery calls, as well as JavaScript. So what I'm going to show you is a very powerful new feature of AvalancheNEXT, allowing me to basically bring in advanced content into the local test cloud library and be able to test with that in a predictive way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm currently using Chrome, and we're going to use a feature of Chrome that allows us to capture content bidirectionally between the client and the server and be able to import that into the cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to another tab, go to my content, in this case Spirent.com, and what I'm going to do is come down to more tools, down to developer tools, and what I want to do is I want to make sure that the disabled cache is turned on and that my recorder is currently active, and then just simply refresh my page. So you can see down here we're grabbing very complex objects, long URL paths, JSON, jQuery, bidirectionally back and forth between the client and the server. So what I want to do is I want to take this and then import that into my page. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recorder, and I'm going to save as HAR with content. Now with AvalancheNEXT, you can actually test pages up to 50 megabytes in length, which is very deep content. So I'm going to go ahead and close down this tab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and add this to my local test cloud library, and I'm going to use the upload scenarios feature. So I'm going to go ahead and name this. Give it a name and a description. And I can file that under a particular category here. So you can see right now I have 5,644 protocol scenarios in the database, and I'm just going to simply add more to that. Now I'm going to go ahead and browse, pick my content, and finally hit create. So what this is doing is this is actually taking the HAR content and actually reconstructing the measurements and the protocols and exchanges between the client and the server bidirectionally. So this will actually, when we go to test, actually flow across the device under test. So now if I come over here and I view my call flow, I can see that my protocol has been reconstructed. If I wanted to, I could add more. Again, I can have up to 50 megabytes per scenario. And now what I need to do is come over here and reindex. Okay, now that reindexing is done, you can see that our Spirent HTML5 app has now been added to the local test cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the main screen, and we're going to use the throughput with mixed apps and protocols. But first, what we have to do is create a local instantiation of our protocol using the profile builder. So what I'm going to do is go into apps, under app scenarios, and I can either search by the correct folder, or I can search. And I'm going to go ahead and add this as a local content, and I'll name it. And again, I can keep building up this across multiple users, so I can build up a library very quickly of different HTML5 scenarios. So I'm going to come back here and build a Emix test. So this is the default Emix. You don't have to use it. You can use your own Emix, or you can start with this as a base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to edit some of the elements. So let's say I want to remove exchange and I want to remove telnet. I can just drag and drop them to the trash. Maybe I don't want RTSP here. And maybe I actually want a little bit more HTTP 1.1 versus HTTPS. So I can just shift click and change the distribution here. Okay. So now to add my custom HTML5 app to the Emix, I just simply drag and drop onto the pie chart. And that's now been added. Now if I hit the editor again, I can change the distribution of this to whatever I want as long as I add it up to 100%. Okay, so the last step is just simply adding subnets and assigning them to ports. Currently I'm using the alpha queue and I'm using pair. I have my bandwidth specification set, which of course I can edit as I so choose, as well as my pass-fail criteria tolerances. So I'm going to go ahead and add my subnets and assign them to ports dynamically. Okay, so now I can just simply run my test. Okay, now that our test is running, we can look at live results. So I can look at load specification, application transactions, and network packets per second, as well as individual throughput percentages, TCP connections, and state tables. So I can see live results. So what have we done? We have taken advanced HTML5 content with complex technologies, which will hit specific queues and buffers inside of our device under test. And we've imported that inside of AvalancheNEXT as a protocol. And now we're mixing it with other protocols and seeing whether our device under test is actually able to catch, deep packet events inside of the device. So this is importation of HAR content inside of AvalancheNEXT.